Hi, Virgo. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for October of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco, California.
Well, Virgo, if this is your sun sign and you missed your annual birthday reading this year, it's not too late to get oriented to your personal new year and all it holds for you, including answers to any questions that might come up during this horoscope, which is going to be a fairly complicated one, especially about relationships. You'll find a link to help you schedule that reading in the text that comes with this video. Well, I want to start with some Moon and Mercury activity here in October, almost just to get it out of the way because there's so many strong relationship themes at the end of the month that I'm eager to get to them. So there is on October 9th, a full moon in Aries, and it lands right here in your 8th house of intimacy and sharing. So this is a pretty argumentative full moon. We're calling it arguments that wound, dialogue that heals, with the idea that it's your choice whether you spend this moon arguing or dialoguing. So it involves Moon and Chiron together in your 8th house, which is a house of sharing, emotionally, physically, and financially, which is to say intimate conversation, sexual activity, and financial connecting, so like shared finances. So the Moon and Chiron both being here, and this is also part of Chiron's long-term passage along your 8th house, which might be bringing up some old wounds about debt, and this moon could trigger some arguments about that. Despite Venus and the Sun's best efforts to bring in diplomacy, tact, and social graces, this moon could be rather explosive and tetchy. Not helped by Pallas Athena squaring that moon over here from the sensitive sign of Cancer, but helped, yes, by Saturn right here in the 6th house. Saturn in Aquarius says that you may get help from a friend or a community member or a community context to help you get through the difficult issues that might come up under this moon. So if you can avoid arguments around October 9th within a few days surrounding this moon, I would absolutely do so. And I'm going to return to that theme at the end of this horoscope. But for right now, I want to turn it over to Julia because Julia has news about Mercury.
Yes, I do. Well, hey, Virgo, I've got good news about Mercury, and that's that very early on in the month on October 2nd, Mercury finally goes direct. It spent a lot of last month retrograde, causing lots of miscommunication, technical snafus along the way, and this whole cycle happened in your 1st house of self. So this was probably a time where you were feeling really personally misunderstood by others, that no matter how hard you tried to articulate things, people were just walking away from that conversation with a totally different meaning than what you had intended. So this is
no matter how hard you tried to fix the technical things that came up, oh my God, things just kept unraveling. So sorry, Virgo.
I know, especially since Mercury is your ruling planet. You probably felt that pretty personally. Then by August 10th, Mercury goes into your 2nd house. This is the house of your values. It is the house of your money. It is the house also of the stuff you own. So with Mercury in the 2nd, you could be very preoccupied with your finances this month, maybe strategizing or planning them. Maybe you want to expand business or find a way to increase money at work. And it can also be a time of maybe buying and selling items in your life. You know, thinking, kind of scanning over what you have and saying, do do I really need this? Maybe I could put it on Craigslist. Maybe I could buy something new with it. Then by October 29th, Mercury goes into your third house at the very, very end of the month. And with Mercury in the third, it's a wonderful time for writing, learning new things, because the third house and Mercury actually have many overlaying meanings. And it's also a time where you might find more increased communications with the siblings and neighbors in your life too. Then Mars, one planet goes direct, another planet's going retrograde this month. Mars later in the month on the 30th is going to go retrograde in the sign of Gemini, and he's going to be slowing down all month until he gets there. Now, Gemini rules your 10th house. This is the house that is your career. It also represents authority figures in your life, and it can also represent your public reputation too, Virgo. So with Mars going through a retrograde cycle, and this is going to take place over a number of months, but you will definitely be feeling it this month, especially as Mars slows down throughout the month. This can be a time of just frustrations, having to sort of redo and go over your actions, especially in terms of your career, what you're doing for a living. And it can also be a time of conflict with the authority figures in your life too. So that can be kind of a frustrating cycle. It's going to be going on for a little while. Mars goes retrograde about once every 2 years. So less often than Mercury. So we tend to feel it a little bit more. And then finally, Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationship. She starts the month in your second house of money. So with Venus in the second, the second isn't just money. It can represent also your values as well. And it's a very, very sensual house because it's naturally ruled by Taurus. So with Venus in this house, you're going to be taking pleasure with all things sensual this month. This is going to be a month where you just want to eat good food, get a massage, do things to make your body feel good. And it can be a time where you might feel like spending a little bit more money, a lot of emphasis on the second house because Mercury is also in there. So if you sell off a few things, maybe you can buy some other stuff that you really, really enjoy with Venus in the second. And the date I really want to also emphasize here is October 22nd, because Venus will be exactly conjoined the sun. And this is known as Relationship Rapture Day. So this is when your relationship can start moving forward and progressing more swiftly, especially around your values, which are ruled by the second house, or maybe even finances too. Then on October 23rd, Venus moves into your third house. This is the house of siblings, neighborhood, and it's also the house of sort of short trips. So Venus in the third is a great time for just really enjoying your neighborhood, your local community. Get out there on Halloween and enjoy your town with Venus in the third. Go to a local bar, go to a trip on the beach, take your kids trick-or-treating. It'll be definitely fun and a wonderful time for getting along well with your siblings, as well as neighbors too, who are ruled by this house. And I know we've got even more relationship news for you, Virgo, and Jamie's going to take it from here and tell you about what's going on with Juno and the eclipse and other cosmic activity this month.
So just as Venus moves into Scorpio, the sun does too. And this is a seasonal change. At the beginning of the month, the sun was in Libra for 2/3 of the month, and then it shifts into Scorpio. And so it's a very relationship-oriented month in general, October is. And wherever the sun goes, we want to bring the sunlight of our high-quality attention so that when we scatter it there, things can thrive and flourish. And this being the house of communication, as Julia is saying, it's a really great time. The 30-day period while the sun is in Scorpio is a really good time for you to pay attention to your communication, to really listen to other people, to bat that conversational ball over, perhaps racket is a better word, lob that conversational ball over the net into the other guy's court and make sure that it lands there. And using your intuition in your communication as well, because this house is populated with the sign of Scorpio for you. So paying attention to communication is a good thing to do all month. And then the next thing that happens is that Juno, which has been retrograde for several months finally goes direct. And this is something we've all been waiting for, holding our breath for. Now we can finally exhale. Here's Juno shown retrograde on October 20th, and it goes direct right here by the 23rd. Now, this Juno retrograde period, it happens every year. It doesn't happen in the same sign every year. This year it's in Pisces. It always lasts for several months, and it takes us into a period of retrospection about our relationship that we may be in, or about our relationship history in general, with a view to how can we improve our relationships in the future. And I'm talking about paired relationships of all kinds, like spousal relationships, co-parenting relationships, even business partnerships would count. And so with Juno and Pisces, we've been asking ourselves, what does this relationship really mean? What is the deep inner meaning of this relationship? And do I feel like we connect on a soul level? And if not, you may feel like you've been pulling away from your partner. And if you have been able to find that soul level of connection, then your partnership can deepen. So as Juno goes direct, this relationship retrospection period comes to a close. It comes to a natural feeling of finish, and we can begin to pay attention to other things and maybe have fewer relationship crises going forward.
Nice. Yeah.
So Juno proceeds onward, and right around as it's doing that, Venus and the sun are hanging out together, and then the moon comes along, and boom, we have an eclipse right here in that third house of yours that Julia and I have been talking about so very much today. Now, this is a solar eclipse. It's a solar eclipse in Scorpio. And an eclipse is a time where you have to look at your shadow. Your shadow comes up, and most particularly when it's a solar eclipse, the shadow will show through your behavior. So watch out for what you do, the actions that you take, the behavior that you evince while this eclipse is going on around October 25th. Most particularly your communication behavior and how your behavior, what it communicates, and any reactions that you may have to the communications that you're getting from other people. You might be pretty sensitive. However, I do want to add that this eclipse has a lot of positive notes in it. And among those are the fact that Venus is involved and that it trines Juno, and that Juno is going direct. So all of this adds up to a really great potential for new beginnings in your relationship, especially if you are willing and comfortable for an actual transformation, possibly in your behavior, possibly in your communication, possibly in the meaning of your relationship to you. Now, we're calling this eclipse Confessions, Acceptance, and Healing because it's got so many placements in water, 3 right here and 1 over here, and they form a trine to each other. And so there can be, this eclipse is the best time all month for you to go to your partner and tell them what you've been thinking the last couple of months and the conclusion that you've come to. That could spell a new beginning, a transformation, a metamorphosis of your relationship. And this eclipse is a better time to do it. I can't believe I'm saying this about an eclipse, actually. Mm-hmm. It's a better time to do it than the full moon earlier this month, which was much more characterized by fiery Aries, anger, and impulsiveness. This moon is more emotionally sensitive. And if you can bring compassion, warmth, and tolerance to the conversation, which Juno is ready for because she's there in Pisces and she's direct by this point. And if you can be willing to be vulnerable and speak deep truths, the outcome can be really, really good. So there you have it. There you go, Virgo. There's your marching orders. You will always find your horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscope tab. And if anything here makes you want a reading, perhaps that belated birthday reading, then you can look in our readings tab and find the reading that you like and get it with either Julia or me. And the news of the month, including these 2 moons, more details about the moons, more details about Juno going direct, can be found on our monthly forecast page. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye-bye.
Bye.